Hey, what's going on, YouTube family? This is LK talking to you from Springfield, Virginia today. Today is October 10th, 2019. It's a Thursday. This week's video, this is going to be the weekly video. This week's video is going to be kind of giving some tips on how to dispatch. This is not going to be a full in-depth video on how to dispatch because that's going to be a series a little bit later down the line. But this is just going to be a couple quick tips on dispatching. And the tips that I'm going to give you are going to be based off of the current situation that I have this week. So we're going to kind of look at what I did, what the things I did right, the things that I did wrong. So let's get into it. So to understand the video and see the tips where I'm coming from, where I'm getting these tips from, we're going to backtrack to when I started off Monday. Monday, I started off empty in Chicago. Took a load from Chicago to Nashville. Nashville to Columbia, South Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina to Swedesboro, New Jersey, and then I already have a load booked from Swedesboro, New Jersey to back to Chicago. If you like, you guys should know if you've been following the videos, I'm based out of Chicago. I'm home Monday through I'm home every weekend, so that's something that I try to make sure that I do is I'm home every weekend. Now, as far as tips go, the key things that you want to remember when you're dispatching is you want to be able to book ahead. There's going to be times throughout the year where you cannot book ahead because the prices are going to be the rates are going to be so low that you can only really book like the night before or something like that so you can get the best rate, because it's going to be so competitive because the freight volume, so the amount of loads, the load to truck ratio is going to be so low that everybody's competing and you're only going to get the best rates when it's the day of, pretty much. So when I say load to truck ratio, that means how many trucks are in the area compared to loads. So you want to be in a market where there are more loads than trucks. So if you can go to a market where it's 5 loads for every 1 truck, so then that's a great market, because now the warehouses are competing for you to haul their freight, versus where you flip it around where there's 5 trucks for 1 load. Now you got all your competition fighting against you. So that means the rates are going to just get driven down. And when you're in 1 truck for 5 loads, the rates are just going to go up because they know that you got options and they want you to take their load. They're just bidding for attention, pretty much. So that's one. You want to be able to book your loads more in advance. The benefit to booking loads in advance is that let's say, for instance, right? Like I said, I'm gonna use this week as a tip for what's going on. I'm going to use what happened this week as an example on, to verify my tips. So what happened is, the load that I'm on now is from the Columbia, South Carolina to Swedesboro, New Jersey. If you don't know where Swedesboro is, that's Philadelphia area. It's like right on the other side of the border to Philly. So I booked this load on Tuesday morning. I booked it Tuesday morning, and it was due to pick up Wednesday morning. So I had about 24 hours to go ahead and get the load situated. Now, the benefit to booking loads early is that if you don't like a particular thing about the load, you have time to change it. Because typically what warehouses do is they don't like changing things within a 24-hour window. So if you have a 6 a.m. pickup on Wednesday, they don't you have until 6 a.m. on Tuesday to typically change it. Some warehouses are different. That's, the 24-hour rule normally applies to bigger warehouses like Walmart, Costco, stuff like that. But you kind of want to keep that as a rule of thumb, because if you can kind of plan out your week in advance, you have more time to get things done. You're not rushing, so it's not like you booked it 2 hours before your appointment. You don't like something and now you're trying to, rush and scramble to get it changed. When you're changing your appointments, make sure that you have a good connection with the broker that you do it with. The way that I do it is, if it's a broker that I know I talk to one-on-one and I do a lot of work with them, I'll just give them a heads up like, hey, you already know I'm gonna change it. They're like, all right, that's cool, or no, don't do it. And then for brokerages like TQL, JB Hunt, that do not allow you to work with just one broker, I give them a chance. I will give them a chance, and I will give them a call. If I cannot get in contact with them, which normally is what happens, or if I get in contact with them and they say they get their team on it and their team comes back with a negative, something that I don't want, I will call the warehouse myself. Because what I do tend to find out is that brokerages will not help you out. They really don't give a crap. Like, they're going to give you the load, and whatever the load is, that's what you're sticking to. So like, even if you could deliver the load a whole day early, they'll call the customer and then they'll tell you no, or yeah, you can, but we're not going to change the appointment, which kind of messes you up, because if they do not send you a new Raycon, when it comes down to detention, it could kind of mess you up. So I like talking directly to the warehouse, because the people that's actually sitting at the check-in desk where I'm going to be going, or my other driver's going to be going, will give you the benefit. So if you change appointments, try to talk just to the warehouse. That's just one tip. Second tip would be book loads early. Book loads early and talk directly to the warehouse if possible. Rarely should you go through a broker. Like I said, they'll sit there and tell you that you cannot do stuff, when you will call the warehouse and be like, yeah, we're first come, first serve. We don't even do appointments. So that's just some things to look toward. But to kind of validate the whole booking loads early thing, like I was saying before I got sidetracked, was that this load, I booked it on Tuesday. It picked up on Wednesday. But as soon as I picked it up on Tuesday, I already knew that I wanted to deliver early. So my appointment was scheduled for Friday. I wanted to deliver it on Thursday. So that gave me, Tuesday, all day Tuesday, Wednesday. They gave me 48 hours more than 48 hours, like 2 full days that I could have, that I was trying to work on changing the appointment. Now, this load is kind of a special case because there's no phone number to this place. Like, the pickup warehouse legitimately does not have a phone number. The delivery warehouse legitimately has no phone number. Like, these phone numbers are like people's personal cell phones. So I guess to protect their privacy, they don't give it out. The broker doesn't give it out. So it's a headache not being able to talk to the warehouse. Like, even if I had questions on how to get there or what I'm doing when I get there, I don't have that info, which you will run into sometimes. So sometimes you just got to use your common sense, go on Google Maps, use the satellite feature, and just figure it out from there. But typically that would be pretty good. Like, if I got that much time to change a delivery appointment, normally it does work in my favor. This is just one of these extenuating circumstances where I just couldn't get it done on my own. It is what it is. When you get out here and you start dispatching yourself, you'll realize what you are able to do on your own. And then, sometimes you're just going to have those hiccups where you just got to bite the bullet and embrace the suck. The reason why this is so detrimental to me is because I know for a fact that I could deliver it today. And even now that I did run out of hours, I'm still going to be there before they close today. So I'm still going to try to deliver. But yeah, I'm still going to try to deliver, but it's going to now affect my home time. So because I'm delivering to Friday morning, it's now going to make it so I don't get home until Saturday, which is fine. Just coming home Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon is no big deal, especially because I do it every blue moon. But it does kind of suck when you have your mind set to things that you want to do this weekend, but now you're realizing that your time is shorter. And so that'll bring me to my third tip. So the first tip is book loads in advance. Second tip is to try to talk to the warehouses directly, because brokers will try to screw you. My third tip, learn how to finesse the system. So what is finessing the system? What do I mean by that? Well, finesse the system is pretty much what it says, finesse the system. So how can you book your loads to where you can maximize the little time that you do have? So for you people out there that are going to try to do the Monday through Friday thing, you're going to have to get creative. Like, especially when it gets to Wednesday or Thursday, you're going to have to get creative. So creative to the point where there was loads where Like, I kid you not. If I knew how to show Raycons on here, I would show you the Raycon. I went to Indianapolis. I took a load 90 miles away for $600. And then from that $600, I deadheaded 2 hours to Columbus to pick up a beer run and brought that back to Chicago. But for all that, I still averaged $250 a mile for all those miles because of that one. You know, you got to get creative and you got to look out for what is out there. You know, figure out what makes sense. So you should know the markets that you're going into. So like if you're going up to New Jersey, you gotta get up there high. Like I think I still went a little bit low for this load, but you know, you got to go up high because not only getting to New Jersey do you got tolls, coming out is going to be trash. So like yesterday I was looking for loads and they were only trying to pay $1.20, $1.30 a mile. Me personally, I like to be at no less than $1.90, but $1.60 is where my break even is. So so you got to keep that in mind. And when I say these rates, you know, I'm looking at in total. So sorry, security was driving by, but yeah, you know, look at it in total. You don't want to take loads that will necessarily put you super deep in the red, but you also have to remember that your week is an average. It's all together an average of what you deliver from. Honestly, the way I do it is from Sunday to Saturday. Whatever gets delivered between Sunday and Saturday is what goes towards your week. So if, like, let's just say I take a load for $4 a mile, and then I take a load for $4 a mile, and then I flip around and take a load for $1 a mile for, you know, the same miles. You know, I still come out at $2.50 a mile, which is still great. You know, so if you look at it per load, that $1 a mile one, you know, you're going to lose a lot of fucking money, a lot of money. But if you average it all together, you'll see that you'll still be coming out pretty good. So that would be the third thing, is just learning how to finesse the system. For those of us like me who are dispatching off of our phones using apps and, you know, the little, you know, like C.H. Robinson Navisphere carrier or whatever, on our phones while we're trying to drive, it's going to be a little bit harder because, you know, we don't have the attention to go ahead and try to figure these things out, because trying to finesse the system does take time, and it does take your undivided attention to kind of look at things and piece things together. So yeah, that's the only way that you can really finesse the system is, you know, look at your bottom line, see what you can skate by with, and then try to do a little bit better. You know, always factor in your profit. You know, for those of us who do own our trucks, it's a lot easier than those who are still paying a note or a lease. But yeah, always just factor in your profit. Make sure that you're at least breaking even at the end of the day. You know, estimate high and break even for the high estimate, so that way when you do come below those numbers and you realize your expenses are a lot cheaper, then you know that you did good. You got profit on top of profit. So that's going to be point number 3, is finesse the system. So pretty much book loads in advance, talk to warehouses directly, finesse the system. And I guess for finesse the system, like for those of you that might be taking notes or whatever, finesse the system would be just pretty much picking loads, being able to pick and manage loads to where you can maximize your time out here on the road. Because if you're only working Monday through Friday, you want to be able to maximize your time. So like days like today, where I'm losing a day. Technically, I'm losing a whole day, and it's kind of irritating me because I was on track to have a pretty good week. You know, days like today will kind of kill you. It'll mess up your whole week because you don't have no time to make it up now. So yeah, finesse the system to where you can maximize your time out here on the road. That'll be tip number 3, is finesse the system so you can maximize your time on the road. You always want to keep your wheels running. You just want to be able to do your 10-hour restart and then just get up and go. 10-hour restart, get up and go. So to verify that point is, I made it to Walmart the night prior. So I checked in at 5:30 in the morning because they wouldn't let me check in the night before, but I made it there that night prior. So when I was getting unloaded, when I was getting unloaded, I was still on my 10-hour break. And then obviously I went over my 10 hours. I was probably sitting there for like maybe 12, 13 hours total. But, I was not chewing up my clock. And so that's going to kind of bring me to point number 4. Tip number 4 is when you book loads, try to be smart about it. You got to think, we got these computers in our trucks that tell us when we can and cannot work. So in my situation, if I would have waited, or let's say if I booked the load and I had to start chewing through my clock while I was sitting at Walmart, just think about what I said earlier. It took them 5.5 hours to get me unloaded. I drove 1 hour, and then I sat someplace for another 5.5 hours. So that's 12 hours that I would have just sat the whole day away. My clock just ticking. On top of whatever time I needed to drive that morning prior, to get there. So pretty much, if I had to sit there and just watch my clock tick away, I would have still been in Columbia, South Carolina. That's just what it would have been. I would have just been still sitting down there. I would have had to push this whole 9-10 hours in one day, which I could do, but again, that's a whole wasted day just by sitting in a dock. So which tip number 4 is try to book your loads to where you can get there within one day. You want to try to maximize the distance that you can go in one day without killing yourself. So for me, I'll book loads to where I'll only drive in total. So from my deadhead time plus my loading time will probably be between 9 and 10 hours. Rarely will I ever, go past that, only because I don't like my clock ticking when I'm getting unloaded. Because now my clock is ticking when I'm getting unloaded. Now my clock is ticking when I drive to my next pickup, and now it's ticking away still when I'm getting reloaded. So, stuff like what happened yesterday would have just killed my whole day just by sitting in the dock. So those are things that you got to think of when you're booking your loads. And so if you really kind of want to get an understanding of how far you can really go within a day without killing yourself, you can get from Chicago to, those of you that are familiar with the area, you can pretty much get from Chicago to Shelby, North Carolina within your hours without killing yourself. Or you can get from Chicago to Nashville, Chicago to north of Atlanta. There's times where I can get to Atlanta within one day. No cheating logs, no nothing. Just get to Atlanta in one day. Obviously, it depends on how fast your shipper gets you loaded. But, you can get pretty far within one day. If you look at your mileage, try to keep it between 650 miles a day, and then you should be good. So that'll be tip number 4, is to try to book your loads to where you can make it there the night before, because it'll save you on hours. Now, keep in mind, these tips are mainly geared towards individuals who are only running one truck, or they are, how can I say, solo. They don't have company support. So you might work for a big company, but you're not switching trailers and doing all this other stuff. So that'll be, tip number 4. Make sure you can get there the night before, so that way you can save on your hours. Get unloaded while sitting off duty. And then tip number 5 to dispatching, which I think is the biggest part of dispatching, is know your estimates. Know your estimates. Be able to clearly look and see what you can actually do. So when I talk to different people, they go ahead and they just book loads. And, I've been that way too, I've just booked loads because I think. But you got to realize that while we're driving, or even while we're sitting down, sometimes us just thinking about what we think we know is totally different than us actually sitting down with Google Maps and actually planning this stuff out. And then sometimes we forget, if we're just trying to remember everything that we're doing, we're going to forget. So here's the easy way that I figured out, just to remember everything and do everything right the first time. I came up with this thing called a dispatch sheet. So if you kind of look at it, you got how much the load is going for the cargo. For the cargo, I also put the weight. You got the load number, the seal number. For me, because I have multiple trucks, I got the truck trailer number, the driver, the truck and trailer number. And at the top, because I do have people that work for me in the office, they put their initials, because this is also a digital form. They put their initials on next to who did what. and then they get paid according to what they did. Then you got the ETAs, the pickup numbers, the ETAs, the appointment time, and then the actual arrival and actual departure, and then how much fuel is going to be used in gallons and dollar amount, and how many miles each load is in total. And then on the back, we did used to write down the 30-minute breaks or whatever, as dispatch, to help our drivers out. But we stopped doing that. But at the bottom is the accounting stuff. I know it's backwards. I'm sorry I can't flip my camera, but on the back, this is the accounting stuff. So like, when was the load submitted? When's the load due? Do I have any detention? And how many hours of detention and how much the detention is paying? And the total amount expected and the date that it was due. Then also, do I have the POD and do I have the rate con? And then do I have any comments? So yeah, it's all that. That's the easiest way for me to actually just sit down and look at it, because like times like right now where I'm not driving, it really takes, like, once you kind of do it a couple times and get your kind of on your own system with it, where for a fact that you can estimate things correctly, it takes maybe 15 minutes to do, 15 to 30 minutes to do. And that's like, if you just go through it, just write it down. For me, when I get to a point where I have a conflict of interest, whether I don't think I'm gonna make the appointment or I'm gonna be super early for the appointment, I pause right there and then call the warehouse, and then I'll be like, okay. Then once I figure out what the appointment is actually going to be and whatever, then I'll go ahead and continue on from there. But typically, if everything lines up good, you'll have it done within 15 minutes. And then that way, whenever people ask you, oh, what's your ETA? All right, this is my ETA. Oh, what time do you think you're going to be empty? Pull it down. Okay, this is the time I'm going to be empty. And that will help you plan in the future. So tip number 1 was book loads in advance. That right there will help you securely book loads in advance, because if you estimate high, then when you book your next load, you'll still be early. And if you go with tip number 4 and book your loads where you don't where you stop at night and you're getting unloaded without using your clock, it's okay that you're going to be early, because that's just giving you more time to rest if you need to rest, or catch up on paperwork if you need to catch up on paperwork. Or if you want to just go ahead and get that load early, you can call and get that load early if you want to. It gives you options. So that right there, that dispatch sheet has just been a godsend in making things so much simpler as far as dispatching, as far as keeping up with the 2 trucks that we have, as far as keeping up with accounting, because like I said, on the back I can look at the paper and see, okay, did this load get paid for? When's this load due? How much are we expecting? So now that can help me plan for a payroll. That can help me plan for, financial goals that I do have, because now I can physically see on paper that somebody actually took a second to fill out, how much money I do have coming in a certain week. Because like I said, payment cycles vary. Like, I have some brokers that I factor that are like next day that I get paid. I got some people that take 10 days. I got some people that take 2 days. I got some people that take 30 days. It just all kind of varies. And for me to be able to sit down and just look at, one piece of paper and figure out everything that I need to know for that load is beautiful. Because what happens is, at the end of the week, these get stapled to the BOLs that they correspond with. So everything that I need to know for the load, every single thing I need to know for a load is right there in a hard copy. And then not only is it in a hard copy, we also scan it onto the computer, so that way we got it on the computer as well. So I can, if a broker says, oh, we need all the pages, not just the one, I could just go on Google Drive and send it on up. So that'll be tip number 5. Get you a dispatch sheet. If you want, I'm gonna figure out how to do it, because I'm making these videos off of my phone. I'll figure out how to do it, but if you want, I can put these dispatch sheets up somewhere, and then once I do, I'll probably put it in the comments on where you can go and find them. But that's it. Those are just 5 tips on pretty much on how to dispatch. 1 is book them early. 2 is talk directly to the warehouse. 3 is learn how to finesse the system, so maximize your time out here on the road. Number 4 is schedule yourself so that way you can get to your destination and get unloaded without using your hours. So get there the night before on your regular hours and be able to get unloaded without using your hours. And then number 5, set you up a dispatch sheet to where you can look at one thing and know everything about the load. So those are the 5 tips. Again, so if you want to write them down, go ahead and write them down. First one is book loads early, so that way you can change things as you need to change them. 2, talk directly to the warehouse. Number 2 is talk directly to the warehouse, so that way you can actually get the information that you need from the horse's mouth themselves. Number 3, finesse the system, so that way you can maximize your time on the road. Number 4 is book your loads, so that way you can get there the night before and get unloaded without using your hours. And number 5, get you a dispatch sheet, so where you can look at one piece of paper and know everything about the load. So those are just 5 quick tips on how to dispatch. If you got any tips, if you guys are actual dispatchers, and these are tips for the spot market. Contract may be a little different, but yeah, these are just 5 tips for dispatching in the spot market with brokers. If you guys got tips for things that you learned, or whatever, go ahead and drop them in the comments. Like I said, this is a community effort, so these are just the tips that I think that work good for me. So I would think that they will work good for you. But if you guys got any tips or anything like that, or any questions, go ahead and drop them in the comments. Let's hear what you got to say. I want to know what you got to say so I can better myself. Also, do not forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit that bell, so that way you know whenever I drop videos, because I'm going to be dropping videos with a bunch of knowledge. So if you want to learn or you want to contribute to the videos, go ahead and hit that alert button, and do not be afraid to comment. As always, be safe. Godspeed. I love you. If you haven't heard that today, I love you. I think you guys are going to do amazing things. This is LK signing out. Peace.